welcome everybody to what I hope is an informative session for you all. We're going to break it down into the 4 major roles within the speech contest to start with. We'll have a few minutes talking about each of the roles. That would be the organiser, whether it's an area director or a division director. Then we'll have the Zoom master who will be working in the background. We will have Olga talking about the contest chair and William talking about the chief judge. And after that, we can open the floor up for questions and answers from everybody. So I'd like to start off by, first of all, saying, as an organiser, what would I be doing? So I may be looking at organising either my area contest or my division contest. So some people within those roles have really experienced, and they've done speech contests many, many times. However, there are also very new people coming into those roles who may never, ever have done it. The bottom line for either of them is to look and read the rule book. So as the organiser, I would be looking at the rule book. If I've done it a million times, there is an update and there are changes which are available in a more condensed format so that we can see clearly what the rule was last year and the change this year. So all of that information is available either on our own District 71 website or on the international site. And as a division director, if I was starting to organise the team, the first thing I need to be doing is to understand what I need to do to have a successful division contest. My main role would be to look at getting in place very, very quickly a chief judge and the contest chair, because once they're in place, each of them have their own jobs to do. So I have them on board very early on, and they will be explaining what their role will be in a few minutes after I. So that would be my first thing. The second thing is that I would be looking at a Zoom master if we're online, which this year, again, we are. So a Zoom master would be my next port of call. And then after that, I will be liaisoning and talking to a whole host of people around to clarify what I'm doing if I've not done it before, or even if I have done it before, just to chat to people and maybe go and visit some areas and clubs that are doing contests to see how they are doing it, what we can pick up to make ours successful. But the main one around that is to support the contest chair and the chief judge as an organising team. We are there together to make sure that we can do everything to make it successful. I'll be looking at what formats they're going to be using. I'll be talking to them about their briefings when they're happening. I'll be asking them questions around which way they are presenting, who's doing what, the things like certificates and things like that. So there's a lot of work to be done prior to the actual day of the contest. And as the organiser of the contest, when that happens, again, you're just troubleshooting in the background, helping the contest chair, the chief judge, the Zoom master, making sure that we're all on the same page. And in the meantime, checking, double checking and triple checking that you have the people in place that you need. Because being on Zoom over the last few years has opened so much up for us in terms of being able to get role players in from across the world, not just within our division like we used to do. So when we were pre-Zoom, we looked within our division in order to get the role players in. And these days now we can go far afield. Hopefully, when we come to our district conference in May, we will be hybrid. We will be hybrid, I should say hopefully, because we will be. And at that level, we can be looking at having people either in-house or on Zoom to do the roles. So that'll help as an organiser tremendously. We'll have a huge pool, hopefully, to pull from. So the contest chair, the contest organiser, the chief judge and the Zoom master need to be very, very much in communication and to understand where each of us are and to help each other. Although we all have our individual roles, we're there to help each other. And another thing as a division director or an area director, well, certainly when I was the division director, we had a WhatsApp group with all the other divisions. And it was really wonderful to be able to touch base with them and get advice and to help to each other with our contests. So I'll end there with the organizer part of it. And I'm now going to put on a Zoom Master hat. And if you don't mind, I just need to switch my video off because I seem to be going a funny colour. So the Zoom Master. So the thing with the Zoom Master role is they're there to help with the technical aspects of any event that they do. The Zoom Master in general would be there to support whatever the organisers of the event wish to run and to advise whether or not it's possible. In most of the cases now, we've been on Zoom a long time and we're able to get through most events, whether it's a contest, whether it's COT, whether it's just an ordinary Zoom club meeting, where we're able to easily do breakout rooms, move people around, create things. But with contests, as a Zoom Master, the job of the Zoom Master would be to ensure that all the technical aspects of that are sorted out beforehand. So ideally, what I would need is access to the main Zoom account that's being used. And that would allow me as the Zoom Master to go in the background and check that the settings are correct. I would advise that you have a registration, and that allows you to keep tabs of people who are obviously registering, and that allows you to make sure that your contestants, your role players are all signing up. So if you're doing the evaluation contest and the day before, the Zoom Master checks the list and goes, I haven't got this speaker here, then obviously the contest chair has the opportunity to go and chase that person up. It's also a good idea to set up a WhatsApp group. The Zoom Master would generally do that, and that would be with the organisers. So the contest chair, the chief judge, and the organiser of the contest would also be in that group. And that would allow that communication. It's there for us to understand where we're at and to help each other out again with any queries or issues that may arise. One of the things to look at as well is when you're setting up the meeting, the Zoom Master would tend to do a spreadsheet, which is shared between the organisers. And they're able to add in when a judge comes along, or a timer or a counter. And it also means you can put your contestants on the sheet, so everything is in one spot. And the access to it would allow the chief judge to add in their role players and the contest chair to make sure that when the order is done, it may be done well before, in advance of the contest, and can put the order onto that sheet as well. So there's a lot of information can go on there. Of course, once we've got the registration, we've got all the backup set up, we've got the template sorted out, the spreadsheet done, the Zoom Master will be invited to the briefings. And the main reason for that is for the Zoom Master to understand the running order of the contest. So it may be one contest you do, they'll go to the international first and then do the evaluation. The next one, they'll do the evaluation and of course the international after. And that allows the Zoom Master to understand when breakout rooms are required, how many are required. It also means that we can look at who needs spotlighting. Do they want that facility to happen, the spotlighting and things like that, and also who the sergeant of arms is, to allow them to move that person out, and to make sure that contestants in particular are able to easily move from the breakout room back into the main room. And the Zoom Masters do it in various ways, so it's for the Zoom Master to be able to give that information. And then during the meeting, there is a spot where the Zoom Master can open up the room early on and send out a reminder email to all registered people. And also the room will be open at the direction of the chief judge and the contest chair, depending on whether they want any final briefings to be done, whether they want people to come in and check that they have got their technical issues okay, if they want to do screen shares, or they need to test microphones and things like that. It also allows the Zoom Master to set up the breakout rooms and to make sure that as people are coming in, they can move them to the appropriate room. Then all the way throughout the whole of the contest, the team are communicating with each other. If there are technical issues and problems, we are easily able to deal with them as a collaborative group. That's about the role of the contest organizer and of the Zoom master. I'd now like to ask our District 71 in UK Chief Judge William Fick to spend a few minutes to give us the overview of the role of the
Thank you, Liz. You got cut off there for a second. Okay, yes, I am the District Chief Judge for this year, and I'm going to talk a little bit. This whole session is called Planning for Successful Contests, and I am going to talk a little bit about planning and what you can do in the planning stages to make the contest much more successful. I've been involved in quite a lot of contests. The last lot of contests we had, the humorous speech and the table topics, I was involved in quite a lot of them. And I saw a bit of a mixed bag. I saw some very well organized ones, and typically they were planned well in advance. And I also saw some fairly sort of last minute attempts where, you know, I was kind of drafted in. I ended up having to do 2 division contests in one day, actually, and those tended to be the more distressed ones. And I think after all of the contests, the sort of general feedback from Elizabeth, Jordan, and Liz is that a lot of people, they aren't, the perception is that they're not reading the rule book. I'm not sure if it's so much that they're not reading the book, but they're not planning sufficiently ahead of time in order to be able to follow the rule book. Because clearly, if you're you know, in such a mess that you're, you know, trying to put this contest together at the last minute, it becomes very difficult to follow all the rules. But the more you follow the rule book, the rule book's been written for years, it gets updated, but the more you follow the rules, the more smoothly the contest will run. So I want to talk about some things that you can do as a chief judge and in the judging process in order to aid following the rules in the planning stages. First of all, for people who are organizing contests, people who are being assigned to be a chief judge, that kind of thing, it's very important, in my opinion, that you get about the different clubs. It's highly unlikely, if you just stay in your own kind of domain, that you're going to be able to find all of the people to put on a contest. Typically, what you find is the people who are more out there and visit other clubs and stuff, they know a lot of people, they have a large pool of people in which they can draw in to help doing the contest. And this could often mean attending other people's contests. So the more contests that you attend, the more people you can find to volunteer to help you. Now, I think an excellent tip, so say, for instance, you're a division director or an area director. When I was a division director a couple of years ago, some of them would exchange the role of contest organizer. They'd swap this with a different division director. So say, for instance, you had Division S and Division N, and they swap. So Division S organizes Division N's contest, and Division N organizes Division S's contest. Now, the beauty of this is that if you can get all of the judges from out with the division, it is much easier to organize a contest, because one of the biggest problems with organizing a contest is getting the judges. There's quite strict requirements to the judges that you can have. You're not allowed judges from competing clubs. So for instance, I was a Division S director a couple of years ago, and there's one person who will remain nameless, definitely somebody on this meeting knows her, and she's a member of 4 clubs in one area, so all of the clubs in one area. So, and she competed in the contest, so that would instantly eliminate all of the clubs in that area from potential sources of judges. And this makes it really, really difficult to find judges. And I've seen a lot of contests cancelled, some of them at the last minute, which I think is very unfair on the contestants because they can't get the judges required. So the sort of tip I'm giving is, if you can organize another division's contest and all your judges can then judge their contest and their judges can judge your contest. And this is much easier in terms of conflicts, because obviously there's less of a chance that the judges, if they're not from the same division, are going to be members of competing clubs. So that's one tip. You really need to get out and about, visit other people's contests, and also try and organize other people's contests so they can organize your contest. A lot of it is a reciprocal arrangement. And to be fair, sometimes you do get sucked in too much. Like, you know, so if you offer to judge somebody's contest, they'll expect you to return the favor and judge at their contest. But there's a lot of that. I mean, I don't think it's possible to run a contest without getting other people in from elsewhere. And for that reason, you have to help out other contests. So you really need to get out and about. You need to know people. You need to help other people, and hopefully they'll help you. And this really solves the problem of getting all of the judges in place prior to the contest. Because if you, as I said at the beginning, if you are desperately trying to put things together at the last minute, it's very difficult to follow the rules if you're struggling just to, put the basic event together. The more you follow the rules, the more smoother the event will be. And the more people you get in advance, the more smoother the event will be. So that's one tip. And I think that's very good. Get out and about, try and help out with other people's contests, and hopefully they'll return the favor. Another big restriction you find is that there is, and this was I won't name the division, but I was involved in a division contest just recently, and this was a problem where we had plenty of people who were qualified and that they knew how to do the judging roles, they knew how to do the chief judge, for instance, but they weren't eligible because they were a member of a competing club. And in this instance, it's quite difficult to find people to do it. But another method I find is, so if you can find people who are not entirely confident with being the chief judge role, maybe they've judged before, but they've not been a chief judge role. There's nothing wrong in the more qualified but ineligible person who knows the chief judge inside out shadowing the chief judge who is eligible. So that means you're pairing up somebody who's very qualified to be a chief judge, but they might not be eligible because they're a member of a competing club. And you're pairing that up with somebody who's maybe not so experienced in being a chief judge, but and they need the hand, but they are eligible. And I think that's really important because it solves two problems. One is that if the same people every year are doing the judging and the chief judge, you're not really expanding the pool of potential judges and chief judges. And also the more people you get in, the better it is for everybody. And I think this comes back down to what I was talking about. You really need to get out and about. You need to get as many people in as possible, and you need to widen the pool as much as possible. So you have to have a certain level of flexibility, because as I said, if you're struggling, a day before, last minute to put this contest together, it's going to be very difficult to follow the rule book. All the basic things, and I've seen this go out the window, people, they don't have time to do the certificates and things like that because there's so much sort of faffing about and things like that. So those are two tips that I think are really important. So one is that you really need to get out and about. If you're organizing a contest, if you're being a chief judge, you really need to get out and help other people's contests. And from that, hopefully people will reciprocate the favor and they'll come to your contest. If you can do it outside your division or outside your area, it's much easier to get people from outside your division or area to come into you, because obviously they probably won't be a member of a competing club. So that's a couple of tips in the planning stage. Also, what I want to talk about is the sort of attitude. So the rules are a large document, and as I said, ideally they are followed as close as possible. And it's all about the contestants, really. Do the contestants see this as a fair process? So what I'm saying is, obviously you want to follow these rules, but you don't want to take them too literally either, because some people I see, they get tied up in such little minutiae in the rules that also paralyzes the process. And remember, it's not actually possible to completely follow the rules. I'll read you an example I just found today. For instance, it says here, each contestant must be physically present to complete beyond the club level. Participation by audio, video, or other remote technology is not permitted. So that would obviously rule out the use of Zoom. There are other documents that say, or guidelines that say maybe you can use Zoom, but there's always gray areas and things like this. And you have to be sensible in your interpretation of the rules to best fit them to the contest you're running, and to, most important of all, make the contestants feel that they are getting the fairest and most robust contest that you can possibly put together. You're not always going to have the best, especially at club level, area level, division level. Hopefully things are getting better. District level, everything has to be absolutely perfect, but the lower down the level, ideally everything will be perfect, 100% rule following, but it's not always possible. Sometimes you have to make accommodations. And in that case, the most important thing is to think, are the contestants seeing this as fair as possible? And I think that it's all about the contestants. I would personally, and this is my opinion, I would rather accommodate the rules around the contest and cancel it completely. Because I've been in the contest, I've competed in the contest. Fortunately, I've never competed in a contest that's been cancelled. I've known a couple of them in the last contest cycle, humorous and table topics, that have, I mean, one was literally cancelled the night before. And I can't imagine what that would feel like if I was a contestant. There was another contest I came into at the last minute because I didn't want to see it cancelled. I knew people in it. So that's a little bit about the judging side. So just to summarize what I've talked about very briefly, if you want to follow the rules and have the best contest possible, you really need to plan this months in advance. You need to get out and about. You need to help other people or offer to help other people with their contests. Hopefully they'll help you get people from outside your area, outside your division. If there's people who are, not so comfortable with the role of maybe the chief judge or a judge, you can always pair them up with somebody who is experienced that may not be eligible. And it's all about the contestants. Contestants. You want everything to be as fair as absolutely possible for the contestants. So that's me. That's all I'm going to say. There's a Q&A at the end, I believe, and I will hand back to Liz, I believe.
Thank you very much indeed, William. Thank you. And now I'll quickly hand over to the contest chair team, Olga. Over to you, Olga.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Will. I'm going to share my screen, so bear with me. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Sorry, is there a thumbs up? Yes, thank you. Okay, just bear with me 1 minute. Okay, I'm going to put my pointer on. Okay, so contest chair, this is the fun part. The day of the contest is great. But as Liz and Will both said, the planning is really important. And I thought we'd go for contest chair from ordinary to extraordinary. So now the next screen, just brace yourself because it's massive. When Nigel saw it, he said, they're going to log off when they see this. This is just because I like to do things visually, and having been through it, I put this together. So before you get lost in that, I've broken it down and I'm going to go through each stage. So this is the contestants. So as a contest chair, you need to reach out to the contestants. So the important thing is you send them an information pack, which is the usual forms, the eligibility and originality. And I would recommend and suggest you look at using doing these forms via using the Google Forms, which is fantastic. It's really easy. All the information comes back. The contestants don't have to print out stuff. They can just fill it in online and it comes directly to, if it's me as contest chair, whoever's doing it will get that information back. And it really is great. So if you've never heard of that, get in contact with us and we can give you out a YouTube video on how to do this. And I've included it there. Also, the rule book is important, but as Will says, the contestants are front and central. So you can, the contestants are important and you need to make this a good contest for them. So what I thought as contest chair, the most important thing is when you're communicating with them, you want to keep it as few emails as possible, because when they're looking at the information, they don't want to be going, what email was that in? So I send the forms out, I send the link in, or the actual physical forms as well. Most important, I ask permission to connect them via WhatsApp because I want to communicate with them that way. Emails are difficult. I'm not saying put them into a group, just an individual WhatsApp with each of them. I will also put in that email, I will give them the registration link to pre-register for the contest, because as Liz said, there is a lovely form. And as soon as she sees them pre-registered, she knows they're there. We have access to that form. We know that they've registered. And of course, you organize the contestant briefing. And that's, you give them a date for that. But try and get everything on the one email and details of exactly what they have to do. Fill in this and give them an itinerary for the contest day if you have it, like 9 a.m. check-in, 9:10, we'll just go over another briefing session if we haven't done it already. And what I found as contest chair is there were contestants who weren't contactable. And we actually had to go 2 or 3 places down on the forms from the area to get the contestant, or was it for the club? We had to go back to the club for the area, because we had to get the next contestant who had come in 2nd place to compete. So that's important. So have those steps in place. Talk to the area director or the division director, whatever level the contest is at. And I found I emailed them. If I didn't get any response, messaged. Last step was to actually call them. And I said, if there's no response, go with your director, your division director or area director. Okay, moving on to the pre-planning, and Liz spent, as Zoom master, talked a little bit about this. First things first, request the officials WhatsApp group. So I'm sure that the division director or area director will set this up, but just make sure if they don't, maybe just recommend it. The contest planning spreadsheet, Liz talked about that, absolutely brilliant. Everything is on there. As contest chair, I even put the people's speeches, their speech titles, everything was in one place. And you could see, as I said already, who's registered and everything that's going on with behind the scenes with the contest. Confirm about the contest certs, participation certs, and the actual winners ones. These need to confirm who is doing this. Usually this is I, as contest chair, will prepare the participant certificates, but the Zoom master usually does the winning certificates and probably will share them. But that's important to get that information at the planning stage to see who's going to be doing that. You'll need to work with the contest chair and Zoom team to determine breakout rooms. As Liz said, she will organize that, but maybe just clarify with whoever's the Zoom master, the breakout rooms that you'll need, who's going to be doing the renaming. Is it going to be the Zoom team, or is it going to be the contest chair and chief judge for their individual groups? And also, how are you going to communicate during the contest? And that goes back to that WhatsApp group. It's phenomenal. You can just, be doing this. Usually on that WhatsApp group, you have your Zoom master, your contest chair, your chief judge. There's probably some others as well, but it's brilliant. You also want to determine what's happening with tech issues during the contest, and the chief judge will normally be the person deciding that. The roles to be recruited by the contest chair is the sergeant at arms, and if it's the evaluation contest, you will, now you don't need to as such recruit the test speaker. You'll have your division director, area director to help you with that. So don't feel the pressure you have to go out into the wild world and find a speaker. It's in the rule book. It says it falls under the contest chair brief, but in actual fact, you've got a lot of help with that. And also something to consider to bring it to the group is a super sub. I was at an area contest and they had 1 or 2 people who were briefed that they could jump into any role on the night if something happened. So they could be contest chair, timer. So somebody quite, senior within your club or at area could knock into any of those roles. And that's something just to consider. And then confirm who's responsible for the agenda. As the rules go, you as contest chair are, but a lot of the time the division director will do it, an area director. So just liaise with them and see who they want to do it. If it's you, you can get cracking on it as things pan out. And also trophies need to be accounted for, especially if we're in person. Make sure that last year's winners, bring them to your club contest. If it's area, check with the area director. I know it's online in the last while or so, and it hasn't been an issue, but that's something to consider going forward. That's that piece. And then contest day. So it's important here to monitor the WhatsApp group. As I always said, it's like a situation room at the White House. There is so much going on there. A lot of it doesn't really relate to you, but you need to just be aware that the Zoom master's having problems locating judges. One contest I had, it's not that he went missing, but he was having terrible trouble with the tech side of it. And it was trying, we were able to communicate that that was the issue, and to, just me to keep talking or whatever to keep the contest going. And also the results will be posted in that WhatsApp group. That's the normal process. We don't usually put them in the chat bar just in case we forget to put it to me as contest chair as opposed to everybody in the room. And this one's an important one. Have a plan in place for unplanned events during the contest. Now, I've had this on a few contests and I thought, I just throw in a table topic session, but it really doesn't work. The contestants, everybody's anxious to get on with the contest, lots going on behind the scene, and I was kind of talking to myself and everybody switched off their cameras. But another thing that worked, and it was a division director who stepped in to help me, she decided to talk about the district convention, and that worked really well. And loads of people jumped in and shared their stories, contestants and just people in the audience. So think of, that's a great one. If you're in the district, think of then maybe the international convention, and people love to share stories. They don't really want to do a table topic session. So have some ideas like that ready to go, because I think in one we just had lots of tea and it was quite a lot of delays. So that's pretty much me. So yeah, it's a great role. Just the planning beforehand, just talk to everybody. If you have any problems, your division director, your area director, your chief judge, your Zoom master, they're your right hand, they're wingmen, and they will help you with anything. So I think I'm done. So I'm handing back to Liz.
Thank you very much indeed, Olga. Thank you. I love them slides. The first one, whoa.
I know Nigel was going, oh my God, that's way too much. So that's why I swiftly went on. But that big slide has those 3 sessions, so you'll be able to just look across.
Yeah. Right. Well, we've heard a little bit of information about each of the contest organizer, what the Zoom master would do, the chief judge role, and the contest chair. And the theme coming through from all of that is basically read your rule book, communicate with each other, and step outside your comfort zone and get in contact with other people as well within your districts, other areas, other clubs, and anybody who can help you. You'd be amazed about people who are out there.